Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining me and my colleague Bree to do our semi-regular series where we dissect some of the more complicated aspects of the case against Raul Meza. Just a quick refresher, Raul Meza is a convicted murderer. He was convicted of murdering 8-year-old Kendra Page in the 1980s. Then in May, after he called and confessed to the murder of Jesse Fraga, and implicated himself in the murder or in the death of Gloria Lofton, he was arrested back in May.
And sorry, we've taken a few weeks off from this, so we're happy to be back with you guys. I was busy covering a trial, and then we had Thanksgiving, so we're back after 4 long weeks of being away. But today we're going to be digging into a really interesting part of this case, and this is something that unfolded after the murder arrests in May. We're going to be talking about a field search conducted by 3 law enforcement agencies back in July in Pflugerville.
Yeah, that's right. So we learned that the Pflugerville police had actually met Raul Meza before he was arrested in connection. Before he was arrested in connection with Jesse Fraga's death. Officers made contact with him in the spring of 2022. Then he was walking on the side of the road with blood on him.
And this is something that I've asked Pflugerville police about a couple of times over the past 2 months, just wanting to get an update from them, any more information. We've kind of been getting thrown around a lot from agency to agency since so many agencies are looking into this. I've been really hoping to speak with somebody directly from Pflugerville to talk about, what their role is in this as this keeps unfolding, but unfortunately they haven't been able to provide me with anyone to interview yet. Another detail though from that day, police questioned him at the time. They found brass knuckles, a bag, and a smashed cell phone on him, and he also mentioned something about another woman.
That's right. So we actually reported on this quite a bit when it happened back in July. Our colleague Grace Reeder did a story on it, so we are going to listen into that now.
Breaking news tonight regarding the Austin man police suspect is a serial killer. KXAN has obtained search warrants showing police believe Raul Meza Jr. may be responsible for another murder.
Now, this is all tied to the search they've been conducting at a field in Pflugerville. KXAN's Grace Reeder now shows us what is in those documents and breaks it down for us tonight, Grace.
These warrants show after Meza was arrested earlier this year for allegedly murdering Jesse Fraga and Gloria Lofton, Pflugerville police realized that they'd actually talked to Meza before in March of 2022. They say someone called 911, and when they responded, they found Meza with a bloody lip, scratches on his face and hands. Police say it looked like Meza had gotten in a fight and say he wouldn't tell them why. Officers then found his truck and searched a nearby field where they found brass knuckles, a bag, and a smashed phone, according to these documents. That's why investigators wrote this, quote, "It is reasonable to conclude that the woman Meza claimed to have arrived with in the area of Old Austin Pflugerville Road may have been murdered and discarded in one of the fields where Meza's truck was located, and further investigation is warranted." So investigators started searching last week. This field is off of FM 1825 in Pflugerville. That's where KXAN saw these crews. Documents show police flew a drone over the field and found several locations that appeared to be, quote, a possible burial site. That's when they searched the field and said that they found clothes, rope, and a tarp. They also found what was basically a hole 5 feet in length with a pile of dirt next to it. But they at that time did not find human remains. So crews then came back, this time with canines, who indicated that there could be human remains at the location, according to investigators. Investigators wrote that they do believe there was likely a female with Meza that day, and that there is, quote, a strong possibility she may be a victim of murder.
And Grace, just remind us again what Meza is accused of and why investigators believe he could be a serial killer.
Sure, Jen. Meza was accused of raping and killing an 8-year-old Kendra Page in 1982. He was sentenced to 30 years, but only served 11. Earlier this year, Meza called 311 and told police he murdered the man he lived with, Jesse Fraga, who was 80 years old. He then implicated himself in the murder of Gloria Lofton in 2019. Police now believe there are as many as 10 cold cases that Meza could be connected to, but believe that number could rise as they continue to investigate.
So we heard in Grace's reporting that in that field search, police found several locations that were possible burial sites. And we also learned that human remains can decompose after a year and are likely to scatter because of weather and animals.
And I am really looking forward to getting an update on this. I mean, the details of this are just crazy. I also, just thinking back, that ended up being a really wild news day overall. Just kind of, we got a tip around, I think, noon, that crews were searching a field, and then we quickly learned that this was in connection to the Meza investigation. So we're definitely going to keep asking about that. And police had originally said that they were looking into 8 to 10 additional cold cases that Meza could be connected to. I've asked repeatedly if this is one of those, if they have a person, not a person of interest, but a person in mind who this victim could be and whatnot. Haven't been able to get that answer yet, but a few months ago I did speak with former Assistant Chief and now Chief of Staff Jeff Greenwald about the Meza investigation, and he said at that point they had not found any connection that Meza would have had to those 8 to 10 other cases.
Yeah, and while we're still waiting for more information, Meza did appear in court, I think for the first time since he was arrested in May. Is that right, Bree?
That's right. And it was a pretty emotional day. The hearing itself, was procedural. Not really anything happened. It ended up actually getting reset until January, I believe. But it was, for some people, family members of alleged victims of Meza and the family members of Kendra Page, who was a victim of Raul Meza, it was the first time that they had seen him in person, and they said that, one, almost felt like to bring them a little bit of closure, but two, it was just an emotional time for them, and it kind of made a couple of them more angry. We spoke with them after that, and we'll go ahead and play my story from that day.
Somber start to the week for some families. Today, family members of victims came face to face with their loved one's suspected killer, Raul Meza.
Austin's interim assistant city manager called Meza a serial killer. Meza appeared in court for a pretrial hearing today. KXAN's Brianna Hollis spoke with those families about what they're fighting for.
He couldn't even look up at us or anyone in the room.
Christina Foltz, the daughter of one of Raul Meza's alleged victims, Gloria Lofton, sat in the front row of the courtroom Monday morning alongside the family of another alleged victim, Jesse Fraga, and the family of Kendra Page, who Meza murdered in 1982. Police arrested Meza in May in connection to the deaths of Fraga and Lofton. Both were found dead in their homes. Fraga in Pflugerville on May 20th and Lofton in East Austin in 2019.
To support and show support for these cases and, let this man know that he's not going to get away with this.
The hearing itself was procedural.
Made sure that the attorneys are still working on the case and making progress.
We're still going to be showing up for every single one. There's not going to be one that one of us misses.
Meza's 30-year murder sentence in 1982 came because of a plea deal. He got out 11 years into that for good behavior and made the following public announcement upon that release.
I can only tell you that in my heart, I know that I will not willfully bring harm to anyone.
As they spoke amongst themselves outside the courtroom, the Page family told the others to push back on any plea deals if they can.
No plea deal, and definitely the death penalty. This man's been ruining generations of lives through decades, so we're going to hopefully make it stop.
Mr. Meza is in a very tough position. He obviously doesn't want to be incarcerated, and so he is trying to figure out what his best options are at this point.
Brianna Hollis, KXAN News.
Meza's attorney.
Really chilling to hear him decades ago saying that he would not willfully bring harm to more people, and now he's accused of murdering 2 more, and police are saying that he might be connected to 8 to 10 more.
Yeah, and the fact that when he was released on that, there was an uproar in the community. We covered that in one of our previous live streams. People didn't want to release him, and one of the families that actually helped him was the Fraga family, investigator Avery Travis found. So extra chilling knowing that he is now one of the alleged victims. It was really powerful, though, in that courtroom to see the entire first row of all of these families, bonded together by this absolutely horrible thing that happened to all of them. But they did say that, they do find solace in the fact that they're there to support each other, especially with the Page family having gone through this decades ago through the sentencing, kind of helping everyone else move through the criminal justice system and, trying to give them advice as they can.
This sort of serves as a really good reminder. I mean, true crime can be really interesting and fascinating to us all, but on the other side of true crime are victims and families of victims whose lives are forever changed by the events of these true crimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Sam will continue to, bring you guys stuff from the family members and hope, of course, that they can find peace whenever they can.
Yeah, and so we've been doing this for a few weeks now. There's not much more that we need to dissect, but next week we're going to be recapping the case as far as we know now and discuss any questions that people might have. So this is a good opportunity. If you have any questions about this case and want Bree and I to discuss it, just leave a comment in the Facebook or on YouTube.
Thanks, guys.